What if the problem isn't you? What if you're in the wrong room? My suspicion? You're not broken and you don't need to be fixed. You've outgrown where you are. Let's get more space and freedom to redesign the life you deserve. Welcome to the Reinvention Room. I'm Allison Hare, podcast launch strategist for ambitious leaders, and we are rethinking everything we've been taught. Part pop culture, part real talk, and all smarter ways to live life on your own terms. If you have a podcast and a business, you might be asking yourself, what does it take to turn passive listeners into paying clients? Or better yet, into the kind of people who talk about your podcast the way Swifties talk about Taylor's deep cut vault tracks. Enter Caroline de Posada, lawyer turned life coach turned host of Bliss'n Up Podcast and the creator of an amazing community that people love to be part of. She came to me with a show people already loved, but she knew that she was missing something that could take her show to the next level, something that could pull her listeners closer in. She wanted episodes that would essentially move people to act. She wanted her podcast to be a real part of her business instead of something kind of separate, floating off to the side. She wanted to connect the two. And essentially, she was looking at a way to create a bridge that would allow her listeners to come over and know that it was safe enough to cross. As you may know, in addition to being an award-winning podcast host of this very show, I am also a podcast strategist. And once we tightened her purpose, we sharpened her promise and built a system she could actually sustain because this girl was busy. Everything changed. Her listeners started speaking up. And they would say things like, I notice how your podcast is changing. I really like how you open it now. I really like how your podcast is shifting. And because of that, those listeners booked and they joined and they shared and they became outspoken evangelists for her work. And in just the time that we worked together, she got 4 new coaching clients directly from her podcast and grew her engagement by 37%. I would imagine it's even more now. But her show finally matched the caliber of her coaching. And when we finished working together, she asked me, hey, Allison, I want to come on your show and talk about my experience. So here she is. Let's get into my chat with Caroline de Posada, host of the Bliss'n Up Podcast. I'm so glad to welcome back Caroline de Posada.
Hi.
Welcome. Hello.
Thank you.
How are you doing, love?
I am so good. It's so good to see you again.
I know, it's been too long. It was like, every time we would meet, it would be one of my favorite highlights because there's so much joy and energy, and just seeing you is just a gift as much to me as it is for what you pay for, right? So it's a complete joy.
Thank you. And the feeling is totally mutual. You are one of the highlights of my day, of my week.
You are so sweet. Well, let's talk about Bliss'n Up. So Bliss'n Up is your podcast, is your business. Tell us about what is Bliss'n Up? Where did it start?
So Bliss'n Up, the podcast started as a way to put into the world the frameworks and the teachings that I had been doing with my community for so long.
You're a life coach, yes?
Yes, I am a life coach. I'm actually a lawyer turned life coach.
Yes,
which is kind of interesting. I practiced law for 13 or 15 years, and in 2015 had a come to Jesus moment where I realized it was time to embrace my vocation. Law was my profession, but my vocation was really in the personal development space. And when my father passed away, I realized that it had been a long time coming, that calling, and it was now my responsibility to step into that calling. Mm-hmm. And I did, but it has taken me the last 10 years to really find my footing and my place in the world. There was a lot of twists and turns in that path, as I'm sure you probably have experienced in your own journey in personal development. So I have been a life coach for the last 6 years. I've led communities. I've done one-on-one coaching. I've had group programs. I do speeches and workshops, and I teach concepts on mindset, wellness, and relationships. But Allison, I had this longing in my heart that I wanted to be the kind of person that could impact an audience, whether they could afford to work with me or they didn't. I wanted to be able to help them for free. I wanted to help them at large. And I wanted to be able to be the voice in the heads of people that needed just a little bit of wisdom, just a little spark of joy, just a little bit of uh, uh, what's the word called, a
Bliss.
disconnect,
Okay.
from politics, news,
Yeah.
noise, all the things. Have a place to go where they could focus on bliss, on finding the bliss within their lives, the bliss that lives within you. And I wanted to give people the opportunity for that. So that's how my podcast was born.
So, how long have you had your podcast? Because lots of times people come to me wanting a podcast. You already had one that was established and well known. How long have you had it?
I launched my podcast May 5th of 2024. So
Okay.
I am currently by episode 79. I always look at my big
Wow.
ass calendar that I have on my
Yeah.
wall here
From
because
Jesse Itzler,
from
Big
Jesse
Ass
Itzler,
Calendar
I
Club.
have
That's
the big
great.
ass calendar and I can always look to see exactly where I am, where the next episode is coming out. So the episode that'll come out around this time is episode 79 or 80.
Yeah.
But I launched it May 5th of 2024. And I hired you a year and change into the podcast. I'd already been recording every week religiously and consistently for about a year.
So you heard about me from Betsy, right? Dr. Betsy.
Well, you actually came at me from different directions. Betsy was the first person that introduced me to you because she's in BBG and she had told me that
Yes.
you were teaching there. So it was, she had already introduced me to you. And then I also learned from you from one of my clients, Mindy, who had, I guess, so Mindy heard from you from Betsy.
Yes.
We have a web going on. So
You
Mindy
really
heard from
do.
you from Betsy, and now she was the second person that brought you to my attention, and she sparked curiosity, and I wanted to meet you and understand what the work that you did.
What made you want to get support for your podcast? Like, in what state was it in?
That's a really good question. So I think I was doing some things in my podcast already well, in the sense that I was recording every week. I was consistent. I
Yeah.
had positive feedback about the podcast. I think the podcast was in alignment with my voice. So I was doing those things well. However, there was still a certain level of uncertainty in the podcast. I didn't understand my analytics well. I didn't understand what would take my podcast to the next level and how would I be able to define that? What would that mean to take it to the next level? And I really wanted an expert to put their eyeballs on my podcast and say, this is what's working and this is what's not working, or this is what you could optimize. So I was very drawn to you because you had 4 Ps in your process. And I looked you up before we met, and you had this 4P framework: purpose, person, premise, and promise.
Yes.
And my first thought when I looked at those 4 Ps was, I can kind of identify what those things are in my podcast, but I don't know that I feel certain about them. And I want to have certainty. I want to own that podcast.
So, when you were considering working with me, because from my perspective, you had a podcast that you got so much positive feedback about. People would say, Caro, I love your podcast. I listen every week. but nothing really happening from the business. It felt kind of disconnected from the business, even though you're talking about it. Like it felt a little bit disconnected. And your website had not quite been updated. So it looked like, I guess from my perspective, of maybe a little more disjointed, even though you were really clear. I think the question was, how do I kind of pull all of these together so I'm saying the same thing and being able to bring people closer to me? Tell me, like, what were the outcomes that you were really wanting when you decided to engage with me? Like, what was your hope?
You know, Allison, what you just said sparked this aha moment in my mind. The biggest premise of my work is teaching people how to live with intention.
Yeah.
I help people notice what's working, notice what's not working, name the intention that they want to set, the energy they want to step into, and nurture that intention. And that premise, that framework of live with intention is what I was seeking from you. You are absolutely right. I had something that was already working and it was disjointed. It wasn't a cohesive part of my business puzzle because I needed someone with more expertise than me to help me name how to make it cohesive and be able to nurture that properly. And you did that beautifully. I'm eternally grateful to you for helping me become more intentional about my podcast. So, to give you an example, if I may.
Sure.
Okay. So, one of the things that you asked me when we first started working together was, what is the purpose of your podcast? That was the first P. And you gave me this Google Doc and you said you had to fill out all this information before we have our first meeting. So I, as a good student trying to be obedient, I grabbed the document and I started to fill it out. And I had a million intentions for my podcast, right? There was like, when I said purpose, it was like, I want to inspire the world. I want to be everyone's life coach. I want to be the voice in people's head. I want this, I want that. I had all the purpose in the entire world. My intentions were pure, but they were not focused. So you came in and you said, okay, but really, what is the purpose? Do you want to sell more coaching? Do you want to grow your network? Do you want to just be entertaining? What do you want this to what is the outcome you're looking for here? And you forced me to notice and name that intention. And from that point forward, I was able to nurture it differently because, like you said to me, if your intention is to sell on this podcast an offer or a service, it's going to look very differently than if your intention is to simply build trust and create a relationship and inspire people. You've got to decide. So you allowed me the space to be able to notice that, name it, and from that point forward, I've been able to nurture my podcast with intention. So now what I teach in my podcast, I can actually say I am applying to the creation of the podcast. And I couldn't do that before, not because I didn't have the intention to do it, but because I didn't have the expertise or the knowledge or the framework to work with.
Isn't it funny that, you are somebody that leverages a lot of frameworks. Like you have frameworks upon frameworks that really simplify complex processes, and you help a lot of people kind of apply those and see the benefits. And I think it's funny that there's, like I'm really good at strategy for other people, but for myself, I need help. You know what I mean? And it's
I have a
like
theory on that.
You what? What is your theory?
My theory is that is exclusively the purpose of coaching.
It is.
Coaching.
And the best coaches have the best coaches.
100%. Coaching is not about going outside yourself to find answers, solutions, and to fix you. Coaching is simply about having someone that is outside your fishbowl hold a mirror to you for you to
Yes.
see bigger than what you could see inside your fishbowl.
Beautifully
That's it.
put. Yeah.
That's it. So what you did for me, it doesn't matter that I have a live with intention framework inside my podcast because my podcast is my fishbowl. So I needed you as my coach to be able to be outside of my podcast, outside of my fishbowl and say, here's a mirror. This is what I see. And then within there, I could find my own answers, my own solutions. I could apply it to myself, but I had someone that could see bigger than me. And that's what I needed you for. And you need that for your business.
Hey, it's Allison. Thanks for listening. My guest today, Caroline de Posada, knows that having a platform to share your stories, your insight, and your ideas can make a huge impact to influence change. And if you're looking to grow your impact and influence and yes, income, a podcast is one of the best ways to do it. I am offering a free clarity call to see if a podcast has been on your to-do list, but you haven't quite put all the pieces together. You can go to AllisonHair.com/free call and let's explore yours. Listen, your future audience is out there. Talk to them. Yeah, 100%. I'm curious, when you were considering working with me, did you have, what kind of hesitations did you have? When you're thinking financial, can this person get me the outcomes I want? Do I trust in it? It's not that, I am good or bad, you know what I mean? But like with any person, I'm curious about what came up for you when you were making the decision prior that, may have given you pause. And then, obviously you said, all right, let's go. But tell me about that process.
Yeah. So can I be honest?
Yeah.
Super frank?
Please.
Okay. As a person who is a coach, finding when you are a really good coach, finding a really good coach is hard because I am not a beginner. When you are a beginner, anything someone tells you,
you've seen the circus,
life-changing, right? Anything someone tells you is life-changing. So I always tell people a decent coach can have astronomical results on a person that is new to this world and or a person who's in a crisis. It's easy to coach someone who's in a crisis.
That's true.
The real challenge, the elevated coach, is the coach that can coach someone who is not in crisis, who is not a beginner, who is in a place that needs to be elevated, that needs to cross the bridge. And my hesitation when I first met you was that I would be investing in someone who has expertise with beginners.
Yes.
And not with an elevated person.
Yes.
And when I mean elevated person, I don't mean that beginners are not elevated. I mean,
I get that.
People that have experience in the thing you're coaching them on. That's what I'm referring to. So like, I'm not trying to be offensive or anything like that.
No, I get it. And my sweet spot are beginner podcasters is the launch, so I do work with people that have existing shows as well, but my sweet spot is there. So that is spot on. What made you decide to go forward anyway?
The consult. You sold me on the consult. I valued the way you showed up. I valued the way that you responded to my objections, to my concerns, to my fears. You showed up in a big way. You answered honestly and authentically. And when I finished the consult, I thought, you know what? This is worth exploring. And at the end of all of it, even if I don't, even if I can't say like it it made me a number one. It made me the number one on Apple Podcasts or
Yeah.
whatever. I know I'm going to get value, and I know I'm going to get something from this. And I was right. I was. And I'm going to say something to you, which I know your sweet spot is beginners, but I'm going to say this. I think I got so much out of our relationship. I think if I were a beginner, you would have saved me loads of time and energy. And I also feel that because I wasn't a beginner and because I had already been podcasting for a little while, I had enough experience that the things that you were teaching me were no longer philosophy. I think they were easier to integrate. I already knew who I was by the time that I came to you. So I think beginners would benefit tremendously from you, but I don't think that that's the only person you serve because me having have had an established podcast and being able to go in and say, where are the gaps? What's missing? What can I adjust? How do I tighten this up? I thought was invaluable.
Thank you. What did you discover was missing? What changes did you make? And what outcomes did you get from those changes?
So I think the thing that really changed it from from everything was the premise. The premise. I'm sorry. We'll have to edit that little part out. The game changer was the promise.
The promise. So the promise
Was the game changer because
a packaged way, just to remind the listener who may not know, the promise is a packaged way of defining what that particular episode is about. So if somebody, or the promise of every show that if somebody's going to tune into your podcast, every single time they are going to walk away with something packaged, whether it is a framework, an idea, a tactical way that they can apply to be able to laugh, some kind of consistent delivery that isn't like some esoteric thing, but like something they could tell somebody else about your show without sounding like an idiot, right? Like, I listened to the show, it was so great. What was it about? Oh, I don't know. It's just so inspiring. You got to hear it. No, like you got to have a package promise. Tell me what that looked like for you.
That was it. I mean, that was it. You did the heavy lifting of going in and listening to some of my podcast interviews and saying to me, this was a great interview. It was very inspirational. What's my takeaway? What do I do with this? Is there a lead magnet? Is there an action item, a call to action? What are we working with here? What is my promise? So I think I was coming from, you put it to me once in such a great way. You related it to going to church,
yeah,
and having an amazing pastor deliver this incredible sermon, and you walk out of church and you say, "Oh, that was incredible," and they're like, "What did he say?" He's like, "I don't remember, but it was so good," because it made you feel good. And I was a really good pastor on my podcast. I was a really good pastor. And what you helped me define was, that's great and all, but what is your promise?
How do you make it move? How do you make your audience be moved to act?
Yes. And so then, now that I have that intention and that I have a name for it, every episode I have to confront my promise and have I delivered on it? And if the answer is no, I have to go back to the drawing board if I am a person who seeks excellence.
You're a person, Kato, that operates a lot on intuition and gut and flow. And so I would say, on the other side of this is that you had some resistance around, shifting the structure a little bit because it would almost I don't know if interrupt your flow, but it took you a minute to get around that. And then you got through it. How is that working for you now? And
Brilliantly.
tell
It's
me
working
about the
brilliantly.
resistance though. Because
Well,
I
I'll give
know
you,
that when you're exercising a new muscle that you're not used to, there's a lot of self-talk of like, this doesn't sound like me. It's something new, right? This isn't how I would normally talk until I get, going first. And I just want to go. But the challenge for you as a busy mom and a busy person running, like right now, you've got a full roster, your business is booming and you have a family and a lot of obligations. Your challenge was time. And your challenge was, how do I take more off my plate? And you were so committed to, I'm so disciplined. I'm doing this. I do it on Sundays, or I do, like I have the idea, but I'm not in advance. And I feel like it's weighing on my business that I could be more efficient. So there were changes that need to be made if you were going to get margin. And that margin allows you to show up as a more present mom and a more present coach. That's what I mean by the resistance piece of that. What was that experience on your end?
well, I will say that it's a work in progress.
Yeah.
I am still conquering that mountain of being more efficient and working in advance. What I will say is there was a couple things. Number one, you offered me the ability to have flow within framework.
Yeah. Yeah.
You didn't want to strip my creativity, authenticity,
Oh,
and flow away from me. And you wanted to give me something that was sustainable, systemic, scalable. And you did a really good job at teaching me that. Have I done a really good job at integrating it where I'm 3 weeks or 4 weeks ahead of, batched ahead of time? No, but I'm better. I've gotten
yes.
better. And I I I have that as a working goal. And because I have a full roster and because I work so much, it's it's baby steps to get me to the position where I can become that kind of person. But what I can say, Allison, is that it is getting easier and more manageable because I understand what the system and what the scalability will look like as I'm exercising that muscle on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
So,
And just
so
like when you start going to the gym and I haven't been
yeah,
in a while, it takes a minute. It feels a little bit uncomfortable.
yeah,
I
yeah.
love to hear about your outcomes. This is like so exciting for me. And for you as the listener to hear, like, okay, you've made these changes. What happened? Can you see a difference?
Well, I have seen differences. I have right now of all my clients, I have a full roster of clients, and I want to say half of them hired me because they were consistent podcast listeners.
Wow.
They trust me. They listen to my podcast every week. In fact, I will say oftentimes I have clients that now listen to my podcast and then they can't wait to our weekly session so we can process a lot of the
Wow.
stuff that we listen to in the
So
podcast,
it's a
right? Because
trust and credibility builder too, you know?
100%. And I would also
Yeah.
say it is a supplement and a complement to the work that I do because I'm so intentional and my premise and my promise are so clear. So that's one benefit that one outcome that I'm very, very proud of. Another outcome that I'm very proud of is, and it actually ties into your previous question about the resistance and flow and creativity. One of the things I resisted the most was your suggestion to create a mid roll. I did
Okay.
not want a mid roll.
Because you didn't
I
want to
didn't
sell.
I did
Yeah.
not want to sell. I didn't want to sound salesy. I didn't want the mid roll. I did not want it. And I remember during our time together, there was one week that I was on the beach and we were talking about an offer I was making. And
Yes.
you said, this is your opportunity to do a mid roll. And you said, you could get off this call. I was in a bathing suit with a hat on.
Uh-huh.
And you said you could get off this call and you could create an organic mid roll, no editing, no filters, just invite them into your program. And I obeyed you. I did that.
It's
In
so
my
weird when you say you obeyed me. I know
I
obedient is
believe in
a word you love to
obedience.
use, but it freaks me
I,
out.
I believe in obedience, by the way.
Yes,
I
yes.
Some people don't like that word. I
You're
love
a
that
woman of
word.
faith. Yes.
I love obedience. I believe in that word. And I'm rebellious and I am a critical
Uh,
thinker and I challenge beliefs and I do not obey blindly,
yes.
but I am obedient.
Yes.
I'm obedient to my intuition. I'm obedient to things I trust, and I trusted you.
Thank
So
you.
I I got off the call and I recorded my mid-roll. I got business from that mid-roll. I got calls and texts from that mid-roll. It was it was incredible. And it made me understand and realize that I get to be me and sell and have a structure and have a framework. That's been one of the
Yes.
best outcomes. And then now that I understand the framework, another example is you had me tweak my beginning of the podcast, how I started the
Yeah.
podcast. And at first, that was the hardest thing ever for me to do because I had my way of starting the podcast and I couldn't connect. And then I I got better. I learned how to do it. And also I trained my editor. So now my editor goes into my podcast, finds a great hook, and then edits it into the beginning. So to your point of time was a challenge for me and I wanted to be more efficient and I needed to look for systems. One of the systems is be me, but have somebody that could support me and say, oh, I'm going to just edit this into the beginning. It's been a game changer. So I get a call one random day from someone who is an avid listener. And she says to me, I just wanted to give you this feedback. I love that now you're starting the episode by telling me what I'm going to what I'm going to listen to. I was going to listen to it anyway. But now that you tell me that, I get excited about the podcast. And this was like one of my loyal listeners and I thought to myself, this isn't just about serving more people. It's about serving my existing people better.
Yes. Yes. And I know that when, as we were kind of winding down our engagement, I think at that point you had 4 new clients that had come directly from the podcast that you had not gotten before. Like people were just kind of passively listening. So you want to make sure that those people that are your prime clients are like taking action to work with you. And, I took a screenshot as you had showed me, your analytics and your engaged listeners grew by 37% from the time that we were working together. So all things are coming up, Caro, which is so great. And I'm so thrilled. And when I got on the phone with you today, or like when we got on this call, I'm like, how's it going? You're like, I have so much business and it feels so good that I'm just serving, serving, serving. And I'm so thrilled to hear this.
Oh my God. May I share a
Yes,
success file with you that I have not shared
please.
with you yet?
Yes.
This one's hot off the press.
All right, let's hear it.
I I just co-authored a book with my dear friend Luli B. It's called Give Me a Boost. Betsy's in that book. I'm in that book. Luli was the visionary behind the book. And Luli hosted a book launch party for the book. So all the authors are there. There's 10 authors. Everyone has invited their close family and friends to come and celebrate the launch of this book. And a woman approaches me and pulls me to the side and says, you don't know me, but I know you. And I just wanted to tell you that I listen to your podcast religiously
Ah,
every week. And I said, really? And she said, every Monday, I have found that your podcast is what helps me start the week with intention and
Wow.
being grounded. And it is an escape from the chaos, the politics, the noise, the news.
Exactly what your intention was.
Exactly what my intention was. I get goosebumps even thinking about it.
That
And
really is what people want is like they have this vision for it. And when it is like reflected back to you exactly as it is in your head, you are on the right track. This is so
yes,
much to celebrate.
yes. And I thought, how interesting and beautiful that this person was coming to me, not because of the book I wrote, but because of the podcast that I have put so much love and work into, and
Yeah.
that I know it's working. I know it's working.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, how do people find you and your podcast and your business and they love your vibe, they want to listen, how do people find you?
Well, you can find me on Instagram under Caroline de Posada.
And I
My
will put it in
website
the show
is
notes.
my website is carolinedeposada.com. But more importantly, you can tune in every Sunday at 6 a.m. for the Bliss'n Up podcast. And Bliss'n is a play on the words listen, because what I want you to do is learn to listen to the sparks of bliss in your life.
Love it. And Bliss'n is spelled Bliss apostrophe N. Bliss'n Up.
Up.
Yeah. So I will put this in the show notes. Caro, thank you so much. You are such a joy. I can't wait to see what's next for you. And I'm so, so grateful that you trusted me to help you in this next bridge, in this next phase. You are a dream to work with. And I am jealous of all of your clients because they get even more of you because you are just a joy. And everything that what I love about my clients and you especially is that you're so authentically committed to serving so intentionally that there is never an ounce of deceit. Not that there would be, but people's, BS meter is high, and trust is low, especially when you're thinking of people you just kind of meet. But your commitment to the truth and to purity of being of service is really admirable. And I honor you and I love you. And I just think you're fantastic. So thank you for sharing your experience with us today. And thank you for being in my world.
Well, all I can say to that is it takes one to know one. And I feel the same way about you. Working with you has been delightful. It's been educational and enlightening. I recommend anyone who listens to this podcast at whatever stage they are in their podcast, whether they're thinking about creating one and launching one and they want to start on the right foot, or whether they've been working on it for a year like I was and they just want to take it to the next level. No matter where you are in your journey, Allison needs to be looking outside your fishbowl.
Thank you.
To make sure you're doing it as best as you can.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh, I love Caroline. Don't you just want to hug her and be around her? She's so great. If you've ever wondered whether your podcast could actually bring in clients instead of just people telling you, oh, I love your show, Caroline de Posada's story is proof that it can. You don't have to burn out. You don't have to batch 40 episodes in a weekend or pray for the algorithm gods to bless you with listeners. You just need the right framework. And a lot of times it is structuring your show a little bit differently and having a clear promise and someone outside of your fishbowl holding the mirror steady for you. Because when your message clicks, everything else flows. The audience, the trust, and yes, revenue. So If you are somebody that wants to get in touch with Caroline, you like her vibe, I highly recommend following her on socials, connecting with her, maybe joining her hub group. I've linked all of her info in the show notes, and she's just fantastic. Go in her DMs, tell her I said hello. And as for you, what about you and your voice and your mission and your message? If you're looking to pull it together and have a podcast in 2026, I would invite you to give me a call. You can go to AllisonHair.com/free call, and let's get on the line and talk about yours. Your future audience is out there. They're waiting for you. And in fact, I would imagine that there are people out there that are on their knees right now praying for somebody to make them feel better, to make them feel heard, to give them a way out. Maybe it is somebody that can make them laugh or somebody that can show them a new way. And you are that person. But you do need to step up and open your mouth. And I would love to help you do it. Either way, I'm so grateful that you spent this time with me. I can't wait to see you next time. Thanks for listening. If you liked today's episode, there are several ways to support the show. I produce this show myself, so it helps me continue to make it. First, please rate and review the show on the platform where you listen, and consider sharing this episode with a friend or five. That's how it grows, by sharing these ideas. Second, please sign up for my email where I send out a short personal note to you every week, and always with a sprinkle of snark and some best finds. You can sign up at AllisonHair.com/email. As always, thanks for listening and hanging out with me in the Reinvention Room.